Hello there. Kyle, I think I'm pronouncing your name right. How you doing? Alan, how you doing? I'll get started soon in a minute. Yeah, it's nice to hear you doing well. Kyle. So, um, uh, Facebook is kind of glitching on my phone. Just doing a couple last minute preparations before I start. Let me turning up the sensitivity a bit. Actually, get my notes out. So, all right. So, almost ready. All right. I think I'm gonna be able to get started. So, what's up, everybody? Bloodman Bobby here. So, I've actually had this idea for a live stream for a while, but I decided to give it a try today since I didn't really have any videos coming out. But if you've been following the news with Paramount Plus, actually, pause my yeah, I just had to do something with YouTube, but I remember recently Paramount Plus recently had a slew of announcements, and among them was Avatar Studios, which is basically going to be a team of people working on um a bunch of Avatar spin-offs. Let me actually pull up the tweet from Paramount Plus where they said that they're gonna have a new series, short-form content spin-offs, and even films. And I remember hearing that even the original Avatar creators are going to be involved. And so I thought that that was a really surprising, probably one of the most surprising announcements to come out recently from regarding Paramount Plus. I mean, I honestly wasn't expecting this whole gigantic slew of Avatar content. I mean, there's that Netflix live action series that's coming, but I didn't expect that there was going to be this really big thing. So it kind of got me wondering, since that's what's going on with one of my favorite Nickelodeon franchises, what if a similar thing were to happen to one of my favorite Disney Channel franchises, that of course being Star versus the Forces of Evil? Now, I'll be the first to say I highly, highly, highly doubt that this idea is ever going to happen with Star. I think a more realistic thing that could happen is maybe somewhere down in the distant future, we may get something like a Star, maybe a sequel series, or maybe even like a movie, sort of like what recently happened with Disney Plus with Phineas and Ferb and Candace against the universe. And maybe I could either see something like that happening, like maybe we'll get like a sequel series with Teen Meteora and Mariposa, or maybe just a movie in the future where we get to see Star Marco again for another time. Like maybe they have settled down on, Earth and Muni that's now cleaved together and something like that. But it kind of got me like wondering, what if, theoretically speaking, I think like this idea is mainly going to be a really theoretical idea. What if something like this were to happen with Star, where let's say in a highly theoretical example, let's say Disney got together with Darren FC and said, hey, would you like to run this studio that comes up with all these spin-offs for Star versus the Forces of Evil? And I figured I'd do this fan theory video live, and I know it's been a really long time since I've done a video that's strictly related to fan theories, like certainly not since Star versus the Forces of Evil ended. And so I wanted to do this live because I wanted to hear your ideas as well as mine in regards to what potential ideas there could be for Star spin-offs. It could be basically anything, whether it's a spin-off movie, spin-off series, or that sort of thing. It could be sort of like what's been going on with Star Wars and Disney Plus, where they're coming out with all sorts of new content on top of the Mandalorian success. I mean, to kind of further emphasize what I meant earlier when I said I don't think this idea of like a whole like slew of Star spin-offs is gonna happen on Disney Plus, mainly because I think Disney Plus is mainly focused now on creating original series when it comes to their absolutely most profitable franchises. I think that's why we're seeing things like all these new Star Wars shows. Marvel just had WandaVision, and they're about to come out with another one. I think it has to do with like the Winter Soldier. In fact, I'll double check what that one is all about, because I know that ever since WandaVision ended, Disney's been advertising that upcoming series like crazy. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yes. So I think, and they're also coming out with like a Baymax show, a Zootopia series, and one about Tiana, the character from The Princess and the Frog. So I think they're mainly going to focus on that kind of content for now. But I wanted to do this stream more so to talk about like potential ideas for Star like spin-offs, and I'll talk about some of the ideas I had. You might have seen on my Instagram post I was hinting at some of my own ideas, and one particular one that I got from a friend a while ago. I mean, there's actually like a lot of ideas I got from that like friends have discussed with me, and I'm also keen to hear your ideas as well. So I think one that I think a lot of people, a lot of Star fans would like to see. I mean, the Instagram artist Mooring Mark has also come up with content. And actually, funny enough, I remember asking, I think I remember asking Darren Nefsey herself, for if she had ideas, and she told me that she really likes Mooring Mark's comics, and something that I think a lot of people would like to see, and I think would be the most logical route for a Star sequel series would be a Mariposa and Meteora show. In fact, I would even go as far as to say that if Disney were to come up with like a Star or SVTFOE Studios, a Mariposa and Meteora series would be kind of like the flagship series, kind of like what The Mandalorian is for the Star Wars content on Disney Plus. Like, mainly because it just seems like the most likely idea for a Star sequel, because now that Star Marco's story has basically ended, with now Earth and Muni being cleaved together, and Star destroying the magic and no longer being a princess of Muni, it would make the most sense to see where we go with Marco's baby sister and with Meteora, like, especially since they had that episode Gone Baby Gone where we got to see Mariposa and Meteora as teens. It would be interesting to see what would happen if they got to grow up as teens on Earthny, and we got to see them go on all sorts of different adventures. So I think that's probably the most likely idea for a spin-off that I could think of. But you could also let me know your ideas in the chat. The second idea I had, I can't really see this being a spin-off because a series, because I can't really imagine a whole ton of episodes coming out of this idea, is mainly just seeing what are Star Marco now up to, now that they both have admitted their feelings in the final episodes of Star. I was kind of wondering what would it be like to see them like go on a date. Like, of course we see them like spend time together and have fun and together, but like now that they're officially a romantic couple, it would be kind of cute to see, what if they came out with like a sort of Starco, and I will get my Starco shipping flag to celebrate. Like, what if they came out with this sort of like a romantic movie where we get to see like Star Marco go on a date, maybe even get into some of their relationship drama where we see they get in this like sort of rough situation, and we see how they handle like disagreements between each other, because I do think that it is healthy for a couple to handle their differences, but in like a very healthy sort of way, not in terms of having lots of anger and fights, because that's kind of what happened with Star and Tom, which I also think that could be a potential idea for maybe a movie, maybe a mini series. I can't really see the next idea I have being like turned into a full-length series is like maybe seeing what happened with Star and Tom, and why did they break up. I mean, the simple answer is because Tom has like anger issues, and that's what caused the two to separate. But it is kind of interesting to see what would happened if we got to expand on those ideas. What would it be like to see, we kind of see what Star and Tom could be like on their good days, like when we look at episodes like I forgot the name of this episode, the one that takes place on the beach where we see Star and Tom kiss, or even sort of the season 2 finale, I think, the one that takes place in the Monster Temple. So we kind of get a sense of that idea. But I guess it could be, I think that could be like maybe as like a spin-off movie. I don't know if it could really fill a series per se. But Kyle, what did you say? A spin-off focused on the past Muni queens. Yeah, I think that would be cool too. And one particular idea I had for a a spin-off involving the Munian Queens would be something like, what if, I think the idea, if they did this whole spin-off idea, is they could really experiment with different like tones, like maybe like different kind of tones of the show. Like for instance, a Mars Post and Meteora spin-off would have a tone that's kind of similar to the original Star vs. the Forces of Evil series, in that it's fun and comedic, like for the most part, but it also has its share of really intense moments as well. But whereas something like a if they, like, one of the ideas I had for Union Queens would be, what if they had like a series that's all about like Solaria's reign of terror, and in that instance they can go into like a much more darker direction in per se, and maybe even like target the series to be something that's more like for the adults. I mean, being Disney Plus, I know even with Disney Plus Star, I can't see them going as far as to have like a Solaria series on like FX and going like all like extremely like violent and that sort of thing. But I could see them maybe going in like a sort of darker direction, like if they made like a Solaria like TV show, Solaria. I get the two pronunciations confused, but that was kind of like my idea with like an experiment in tone. And another idea I had is in terms of another queen, even though now this character has probably become like one of the most hated cartoon characters next to Lilith from Owl House and Simon from Infinity Train, is a series about Moon and River's relationship. Like what, because we kind of saw this idea of in Battle for Muni, they had that one episode where we go into Moon's past and we see her fight Toffee. But I would be kind of interested in seeing, what was it like for Moon and River's relationship, and maybe diving in more into what happened, the River's story, because it's interesting how when we saw River when he was younger, he seemed like a very shy like character, whereas River as an adult is very bombastic. I mean, he can still act kind of like overly dependent. I know that like there's a lot of people who really don't like how whiny and childish River can act, but I'm kind of interested in seeing, would in that kind of a series would we see more character development on River. I believe there's a comic out there where they show more of Moon and River when they were younger, but I'm kind of interested in seeing if they could maybe turn that into a series. Yeah, it just seems like as of right now the most realistic thing they could do is maybe throw out like a comic here and there, but I'm gonna keep going with this idea of like if they were to do spin-off shows and movies. Just you don't mind, since Ross ate in our Nintendo Switch discussion, I'm gonna eat as well. But I'm not gonna go off screen. I know it was super awkward when I did in one of the Infinity Train reviews. I ate like a bowl of beef noodles off screen, and I think that's why I got a bunch of dislikes. But daylight savings time has just completely thrown a bone into my schedule. For today. Oh boy, I hope I don't hiccup. But, oh yeah, another idea I had. Well, actually, let me get to the one that a friend suggested. Not for a spin-off. Like this was back when I was writing fan stories, but I remember a friend of mine suggested they could do like a lot of stories on what he calls future Marco, Never Zone Marco, where he's like super buff and jacked and that sort of thing. Like this idea of like what has he been doing in all those years he spent in the Never Zone? You know, like we sort of got like a sort of taste of the idea of like, you know, what he was doing in the events of Running with Scissors, but I think that would also be like a really that could actually fill a spin-off series. Like, you know, all these like different adventures that Marco got into in the Never Zone. What was it like for him to maybe train to become the really buff guy that we would go on to see in the later episodes? Or maybe an episode where well, actually they showed when he first met Hekapoo, but like maybe the series could start from where we see the younger Marco in Running with Scissors, and it ends where when he reunites with Star and that sort of thing. So it's kind of like an expansion on what happens with Running with Scissors. So I think that would be a really good idea too. Yeah, there's just a lot of ideas for character expansion, I would say. Like I wrote down this idea of what if there was a movie on I think this could even fill up a spin-off series as well. Like what if there was this idea of a series that was all about Meteora's life? Like this is I'm talking about Meteora back when she was known as Miss Heinous, and they did that episode where they dived into her very tumultuous childhood where after both her parents were crystallized and we got to see you know what it was like for her to grow up without her parents and have her be pushed around by Saint Olga, who turns out to be a robot and that sort of thing. So like maybe they could do a series on that sort of thing. Other ideas here, maybe even like another series on Eclipsa, Shastakan and Globgor, like this whole really insane love triangle, because I still remember in that the episode where it was revealed that at first it seemed like Shastakan, that POS guy, that piece of shit was gonna get with Eclipsa, but we saw all that that she wanted to get with Globgor instead. So maybe there could be like a series, maybe even like a series on like what it was like for Eclipsa to grow up, which kind of crosses over with the Solaria idea I had, but like maybe a series that's like focused on like, Eclipsa being brought up and how she's caught in this romance, and the series could conclude with where both her and Globgor got crystallized and that sort of thing. Kyle says, I still don't know why the rest of the Deep Trouble comics is available to the public. Darren says that even that comic got poor sales. The rest of the comic was going to be released to complete the story. Yeah, I'm not sure why either. I remember my friend Gabby lent me a copy of one of the issues of Deep Trouble, but I'm guessing maybe they gave up like because of the poor sales, which I really like. Really just wish that like Disney Channel or Disney TVA, maybe if Disney Channel or Disney TVA could advertise them more, especially on social media, it could really help the sales, because I certainly didn't know about the comics until my friend told me about them, so I'm thinking that could really help. So anybody else in the chat, if you have any ideas for spin-offs, you could let me know. So we talked about Neverzone, Meteora's life, a mini-series on what happened between Eclipsa, Shastakan, and Globgor. I was also thinking of like maybe they could do like series on maybe one about like what it was like for Meteora and Mariposa to like their Neverzone adventures. Maybe actually that one could probably be more of a movie than a spin-off, unless they really want to like go in and dive into the different adventures they had as they were growing up. Like this idea of what happened when Meteora and Mariposa got into the Neverzone, like in the Gone Baby Gone episode. excuse me, where um where after they got flung into the Never Zone, what happened? Who raised them? Who helped them train and grow up to become the teenage warrior characters that they would grow up into when we see them in Gone Baby Gone. Like maybe that could be another thing, and we could also see like maybe the internal struggles of the things. It's like how come our like family and friends didn't come back to save us, like that sort of thing. Like I could even see it be a thing where it's like Mariposa is sort of haunted by this idea where she's knows she had a brother but doesn't know too much about him, and like we see in the episode that she wears the penguin puppet as like a necklace. So I'm thinking, what if that was like, what if then, that was a thing that series could dive into as far as Mariposa goes. But yeah, I also think that could be an idea for a potential series that they could put on Disney Plus. But yeah, I think that that about that's basically all the ideas I had for Star spin-offs for now. I'm really curious to hear what you all have to say as far as what you think could be good ideas for Star spin-offs. Again, this is a very, very theoretical idea because I highly doubt this will ever happen on Disney Plus. I think the most realistic thing they could do is either a sequel series, like one that focused on Meteora and Mariposa as teens, or if they did like some sort of movie where they showed life on Earthny. What is it like for Marco and Star after they're now officially a couple and they've admitted their romantic feelings and that kind of thing. It's just a question of like what exactly would fill out the story. What would be the conflict? Would it be them trying to help the humans and the humans get along, or would it be more so focused on them sorting out their any relationship issues that they have? Kyle, what did you say? How about a series showing the different dimensions of the multiverse of Star? Would it be a series where it shows like each new episode shows a different dimension? Like episode 1 will be about the pony heads, episode 2 would be about Kelly's dimension, and episode 3 would show maybe like Father Time's dimension and that sort of thing. I'm not one of like one idea I'm really trying to sort of I don't know if they could really build on this is this idea of what if they were to do like an entire series based on the Ponyhead show, but I'm not really sure what that if that could be built up into an entire series. I think that would be, I don't even know if that could really fill out a movie. Would it just be basically Ponyhead and her siblings, like just finding all sorts of like talent for the show, and things go wrong, and they need to get this right because the show must go on, or I don't know. And what did you say, Kyle? Yes, every episode is in a different dimension. Maybe, although the big question is, the big question I have is how would they fill out the details? Would it basically be just like a story that's focused on like something that's happening? Like, I don't know. In Kelly's case, would it be just like, oh, I'm going over to the library, like that crazy library, or if it was about the pony heads, would it be resolving some kind of crazy dispute between them, or that sort of thing? I think the idea could work if it was something like what I remember. Let me actually see if I could find. I think it was Disney Channel. It was either Disney Channel or Disney XD, where one of them did a video that was on like the different kingdoms in the Star universe. Yeah, I don't remember which one of the two did that. CRP, I hope I pronounced your name right. Hello, how you doing? Do you have your own ideas for Star spin-offs? Again, this is a very theoretical idea. This is definitely more of a fan theory because I don't think Disney would ever really go with this idea of doing a whole bunch of Star spin-offs. But if you could could come up with any Star spin-off you wanted, what would you want to see them do? Again, don't mind me eating. I haven't really had much to eat this afternoon. So yeah. Trying to think of what other ideas that could possibly happen. Might be interesting to ask a Mooring Mark about this idea of like Star spin-offs. And since I'm talking about Disney Channel anyway, I figured it might also be worth mentioning that this idea could also potentially happen for something like Gravity Falls per se, especially since it's been years since the show has ended. And also, there could also be ideas for that show too. Like, what would it be like to see Stan and Ford in their present day adventures, or that kind of thing, or what would happen if Dipper and Mabel came back to Gravity Falls. I even heard this idea get tossed around of like even asking whatever happened to Wendy Corduroy's mother, I think, and that kind of thing. So maybe that's more of an idea for the future, but I'm not sure if Alex Hirsch's schedule is open for something like that right now, or Darren FC's for that matter. I know that Darren is currently working on some kind of project for Nickelodeon, but we haven't heard much. So I think, especially if that's a new series that she's working on, I don't know what she's doing. It's hard to say because if it is a new series, then I don't think we're gonna see a Star spin-off for a really long time, like not in the near future at least. Cause I think in an ideal world, if Disney Channel wanted to do, or Disney Plus wanted to do a Star spin-off, then Darren's schedule would have to be like basically like cleared up so that she could work on this thing, let alone this idea of like a SVTFOE Studios. I think it would be really cool. It's just I'm not really sure how realistic it would be. Yep. Hashtag save SVTFOE and hashtag save Muni. Yeah, but one thing that I know I'm not personally gonna do is like ask Darren FC for a season 5, especially since she's currently working on the Nickelodeon project, and it seems like she gets asked that question a lot. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I would like ask her about that. I mean, especially since Stars ended, I think a more realistic thing is if they'll either do a sequel series or a movie or that kind of thing. Yeah, but it would be really nice to meet the Star crew once again after the pandemic. Because I really miss going to conventions and interviewing cosplayers. I mean, one of the reasons I upgraded my camera because one, my previous one got stolen. But the other thing too, the reason I went over to the Nikon Z mirrorless system is because I've heard mirrorless cameras are a lot easier to like carry around and film for any kind of vlogging content. So I think it would be really awesome if I got to ask um if I got to ask somebody like Gabby to come along and film conventions. Jefferson, hello. Do you have your own ideas for Star spin-offs? That could, I mean, it doesn't have to be like something that's going to happen right away, but just any ideas you have. I mean, that's why I had this idea of what if Disney created a SVTFOE Studios, kind of like what Paramount Plus is doing with Avatar Studios. So feel free to let me know your ideas. I like hearing from you. Yep, I see your hashtags. Hashtag save SVTFOE Season 5. Yeah, but I guess it would be more. I think, yeah, but I think the idea of Star spin-offs might be more realistic if. I think it would be more realistic if it had like the kind of like as many viewers as something like what's been going on with like Paramount Plus. I think that's why they're coming out with like or just Nickelodeon in general and Viacom. Notice that the bitrate counter has went down, but I hope that's just a temporary glitch. And yeah, the bitrate is going back up, so that's cool. But yeah, I think, but if Star was as successful, as something like a SpongeBob, or even just had like a really big fan base like Avatar, for instance, like maybe Disney would consider doing this whole like Star Studios idea. I'm not really sure if they'd even call it like SVTFOE Studios. That's a lot to say. Maybe a better title might be something like Butterfly Studios or that kind of thing. I don't know about Muni Studios though. If anybody else has ideas for spin-offs, you could let me know in the chat. Oh, what did you say, CRP? Bro, a question. How's a movie to Star vs. the Forces of Evil? I think it would depend on like what the movie is about. Like, would the movie be, let's say, about Teen Meteor and Mariposa, or would it be about Star Marco's relationship? I'm not saying it has to only be just those two ideas. But it would just, if it to be a good movie, it would have to have like a really good story on top of that. Maybe it'll even, if it was a movie, they could even mix the two ideas. Like, what if it was a thing where it was like a Mariposa Meteor adventure, and every once in a while we get to see like adult Star and Marco. Like, because I think this idea, if there was a Meteor and Mariposa spinoff that would take place as teens, then Star and Marco would already be into their adult years, so they could do things like maybe even like have like their wedding. Oh my god, could you imagine if that was like the first episode, or like first or second, or maybe even second season starter is Star Marco's wedding? It's like that long last, we finally see them get married and it becomes like canon. I think that would be awesome. CRV, but I don't know when is a season 5 or movie, but I think I'm not sure if they're gonna make a season 5. I think a more likely thing would be like a sequel series, kind of like how with Avatar they went from Avatar: The Last Airbender to Legend of Korra. A movie, I think, between the two, I think would be the most realistic, but I don't think it's gonna come in like the near future, especially after Disney had that investor day where they made all sorts of announcements, and since I didn't see Star come up even once, I don't think, and combined with how Darren FC is currently working on something at Nickelodeon, I don't think we'll see a Star spin-off for like at least a few years. It's actually kind of surprisingly a long time, more than I realized. I guess another thing I should consider is how long did it take to go between the original Avatar: The Last Airbender to The Legend of Korra, because usually these franchises don't really come back until like a few years. Jefferson, what'd you say? Blood Moon in 2022. What day is it going to be on? It would be really awesome. I'm not like as a really like a super cosplayer, even though it's like the thing where it's like I like dress up as Marco, but I'm not one of those cosplayers you see on TikTok reenacting scenes from the show and dancing around. But one idea for a photo shoot I've had is to do a cosplay where I'm Blood Moon Marco, but I don't know somebody that could be Blood Moon Star. Like, I've had the idea in my head for a couple years, but I'm not really sure how I could pull that off. The inner fanatic in my head is like, ooh, they should do a series all about the Blood Moon Ball, but I'm like, but I don't know if that could happen, because the Blood Moon Ball, while a very significant event in the Star storyline, it's basically like, like a an event that only takes place on one night, or two if you count Curse the Blood Moon. So I don't really know if that could happen. I think it would be really cool if they ever do a spin-off series. What if they do a thing where like Star and Marco like recreate like the Blood Moon dance? Because I still get really like kind of panicky when I think, oh no, did they completely forget the Blood Moon Ball because of Curse of the Blood Moon? Although Marco does indicate that he does at least have some memory of the Blood Moon Curse, because he tells Star in the Here to Help episode, oh, you know that thing with the Blood Moon Curse, it's all baloney. So, but I just think that would be a really cute idea. I've seen some fan artists will like do a drawing where Star and Marco are dancing like as adults under the Blood Moon. So like maybe that could be a thing. Maybe that the Blood Moon could come back to indicate another relationship, like if they were to do like a Meteor Mariposa series or that kind of thing. I also had another idea for a spin-off series. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Was one about Jackie and Chloe. Like, what if they did a series where we see Jackie after she breaks up with Marco in I think it was the sophomore slump episode, and then we see that Jackie's all doom and gloom, and then she decides to go study abroad in France, and that's where she meets Chloe and that sort of thing. I believe that idea was like was also brought up to me on Instagram, but I'm not really sure about the specifics. But I think that would also be a potential idea. But yeah, part of me is just thinking, since Disney Plus is trying out all these different ideas that aren't tied to franchises. Not that, I mean, of course I want original content, but since they're trying out all these ideas, I'm kind of thinking that maybe one of these days they'll at least consider a Star spinoff. What kind of shakes my confidence in this idea, though, is that Disney only really seems to do this with franchises that are as successful as something like a DuckTales or a Phineas and Ferb. Like, still to this day, I remember when they did the Tsum Tsum cartoons, with the miniature versions of the different Disney characters. I believe Perry the Platypus was like the only Disney Channel character they had. And so, yeah, part of me is just like, where's the rest? But yeah, I guess that's just how Disney works as a company. I kind of wish they would take a page out of like the early 2000s, when they used to have like movies and all these different projects that weren't necessarily based on like a ongoing Disney-owned franchise. Like, I'm thinking of back in the days when they were like making movies with Walden Media, and they released movies like Holes and the Narnia films and that sort of thing. Jefferson, would you say Legend of Blood Moon Marco? Diaz is Ash Ketchum. Monica's Reddy. I'm having trouble pronouncing. And Jefferson is Sorel. are you including yourself in that idea, Jefferson? And Kyle, would you say, yeah, Jackie have 1 year passed in the universe in France? I wonder what she learned in that time. Yeah, I think that could be idea at least for like a mini series. Although I think that's like a very good idea of like a different like style of story they could experiment, because I can't see them doing a thing where it's like they have like a Jack and Chloe show where there's lots of action and monsters like in Star vs. The Force of Evil. But maybe they could do more of like a sort of slice of life show where like they go into different things where like Jackie's not really sure of like, what she's gonna make of her life, and how she broke up with Marco, and maybe trying to discover, her fullest potential and discover, things about herself and that kind of thing. So, there are any other ideas for spin-offs? You could let me know. I noticed that, since I know that some have brought up the season 5 idea, I'm kind of wondering, let's actually do the thing where it's like, if you could do a season 5, like let's say you got put in charge of a Star season 5, what would you like to see? Would you like to see maybe what are Star Marco's lives like now that magic is destroyed, or do you think that magic could come back? And that kind of thing. I honestly would like to see a magic come back in like a Star spin-off. Like in terms of like maybe bring up questions of how would it be used this time, and making sure that that people but yeah, that's the big question, because like if magic comes back, then that means the Magic High Commission will probably come back and do their shady things again. So yeah, that's a really big. That might even be like an interesting thing for a series to go into if magic comes back, where it's like, how could they stop the Magic High Commission from getting their hands on it and doing all like the puppeteering work, like what they did in the later seasons of Star. Um, yeah, no worries, CRP. Um, I know you asked about a season 5. What would you like to see in a season 5? Because I remember, like, when I finished watching Cleve, one of the really big questions I have is, now that magic is no more, that probably means there's no more opening up portals. So how are like characters in different dimensions going to visit each other? Like, how would Kelly meet with her friends on Muni, for instance? Because I don't think Kelly's dimension is on Muni per se. It sounds like it's on a different planet, basically. Because, yeah, I think that's one of the really big questions that they would have to tackle. Well, because I know they did the thing where Ponyhead was saying, "Oh, Kelly is all fine," and that kind of sort of thing. But but yeah, but I think that would just be really sad if it's just the kind of thing where it's like they were never able to contact Kelly ever again because of the destruction of magic. It might even be this is a real big stretch, but I'm also thinking because I know, where is that? Like, I'm gonna look up notes for a prior video I did on another spin-off that's coming. Um, yeah, because I know that Warner Media is trying out these like ideas for like a spin-off of Velma from Scooby-Doo, or this spin-off with the Powerpuff Girls as adults. So I'm thinking, I mean, this is really a stretch, but I'm kind of thinking, what if um they do a sort of thing where it's like, if maybe if Disney sees that those two spin-offs are really successful, I mean, we'll see if they are, but let's say if they are successful, maybe Disney will consider, hey, let's get into this spin-off series game ourselves, which they are with things like that Zootopia, those Zootopia and Tiana and Baymax projects, but I'm thinking maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but I'm thinking, what if like they were to do the same thing with Star and it gives them that encouragement? Something that might actually help, like, though, is time could also work to its advantage with helping maybe the Star versus the Forces of Evil franchise gain more steam. I think that's a big part of why, like with Avatar: The Last Airbender, now that show has its own YouTube channel and lots of people watch it, and the series in itself, I shouldn't say oddly, but you know, it seems to have like grown its fan base much more and more over time as like more people discovered it. I know there's like I have high school and college classmates that have like gotten really into like both Avatar and Korra, even more so than I ever could. So maybe time could also work to its advantage, and like word of mouth could help. In a sense, I don't want to like promote the show. I don't know about advertising, but it's sort of like how like when a movie comes out, and like when a movie like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Blade Runner comes out, and those two movies don't do super well at the box office, but in the later years they grow a fan base. Or in like Disney's case, like Newsies, for instance, that movie Newsies, the musical, where when it first came out it tanked at the box office, but in the later years people discovered the music and the songs are really great, and you start watching the movie. Maybe that could happen with Star down the line. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see like a Star versus the Forces of Evil Broadway show. Like, I think a spin-off would be more likely than like something on Broadway, but but yeah, time could also help introduce the show to more and more people. Kyle, what did you say? For me, Magic coming back, Star and Marco together, been learning the consequences of their actions of the last two seasons, close the Toffee and was that Seth arcs, and introduce new challenges on Earth Me. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember like an idea of like what could happen with Earth and Muni merging. One of the problems is, are these two like people going to get along, like the people from Earth and the humans, or are they going to get in this like that could actually be like a potential idea for another conflict. You know, kind of like how in the original series monsters and humans didn't really get along. Well, in this new series we could see that maybe humans and humans don't get along, and Star Marco are going to have to help them, like, you know, build peace between each other. Um, Kyle, if you're still here, what are some ideas you have for spin-offs focused on the past Munian queens? Like, do you want to see like different series for each queen that's ruled Muni, or would you like to see a show where it's like episode 1 is focused on the first queen, one episode focuses on Solaria, the other focuses on Eclipsa, the other one focuses on Comet, and that kind of thing? But I am still kind of dubious about this idea of Star like gaining. I think more people will discover it in the later years and will watch through the seasons. It's gonna be really impossible not to get spoiled, but maybe more people will check it out in the later years. Although I'm not really sure if it's gonna gain like the same sort of legacy that Avatar has. It would be cool if it did. Don't get me wrong. I'd really like to see that, but the realistic part of me is like I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. Although I will say, if they do ever launch a YouTube channel that's dedicated to Star, one idea I would like to see is like maybe they could like dive into some of Comet's recipes and make a video showing how those pies are made. Maybe we could see like a Glossaric series is where he talks about like, you know, his experience training the other queens. Syrupy said, I think to Earthny as Muni City. It's kind of interesting like how to classify what exactly is Earthny. I remember hearing a while ago like Adam MacArthur or was saying like to think of Earthny, or now that Echo Creek, or maybe to think of it as more Earth and Muni have now merged into one sort of super planet. But yeah, although it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around this idea, because while Muni is basically a planet, Echo Creek is like a city. So is it like one half of the Earth is like Muni now and the other half is Earth? I'm not really sure how to visualize that. But if that's what Earthny, as fans call it, if that's what Earthny is, then that's what it is. I want a miniseries focusing on one queen at a time, which I think could be possible for a lot of the queens. The problem is that some of the queens seem to have like, you know, really huge story arcs that could even fill out an entire series. So, although maybe as a compromise they could do like a two-parter episode, like maybe a two-parter on Eclipsa's relationship with Shastakan and Globgor and the love triangle that was going on between them, or maybe like do several episodes on what it was like during Solaria's rule and how she met up with Mina. Yeah, Kyle said, yeah, Glossaric is present throughout the history of the multiverse, so it's interesting to see his point of view. Yeah, because he's the one character who has lived through like all these different queens. I've even heard somewhere that like Glossaric has like quote unquote died like multiple times throughout the years. So, which I think could fuel this possibility of him coming back. I'd even go as far as to say if Magic were to come back, maybe Glossaric could be very instrumental in like stopping the Magic High Commission from like using magic to control all people and puppeteering and that sort of thing. Because I think the real root cause of like the problems with magic come down to characters like the Magic High Commission characters and other characters who used it in like very cruel ways like Solaria and that sort of thing. Hmm. I tweeted the other day that I think it would also be awesome to see if Funko released even more Funko Pops of the Star characters. I've heard that like Star versus the Forces of Evil characters are like one of the most requested um franchises that Funko gets. I think it would be really awesome if they made like Blood Moon versions of Star Marco, or if they also released like Funko versions of characters like Eclipsa, Moon, and Globgor, and River. So I think I'll keep the stream going until at least 7 p.m. Pacific time, just in case others come by, or if me or any others come up with more ideas for Star spin-offs and that sort of thing. I mean, I was even like down for this idea of like, what if they were able to do like Star video games, or even if they were to do like a Disney Channel version of like Super Smash Brothers, where they like have like characters from Gravity Falls, Star, Wander Over Yonder, Owl House, and Amphibia like get together in this tournament fighter. Kyle, what did you say? I'm thinking if the series got a continuation, include a corrupted version of butterfly mode like Fleetway's Supersonic. I'd have to look that up. I'm not really sure what that is, but a corrupted version of Star's butterfly mode, would it be something like her going evil, or if like a villainous character put some kind of like attack on Star that like caused her to turn like, you know, purple and look scary and that kind of thing, like sort of like a, I guess you could say, evil version of her Muberty form. Kyle says, corrupted magic creating a separate evil alter ego of Star and Butterfly mode. So, is it kind of like the evil versions of like Link from Zelda or Dark Pit, I think it's called. Which that could be interesting. This idea of like Star like fighting the evil version of herself. I know this is not an apples to apples comparison, but it kind of reminds me of like Spider-Man fighting Venom in like Spider-Man 3 or that sort of thing. I mean, it's not exactly like that, but it just kind of reminded me of that idea. And Kyle, you said yes, but living in Star's mind. So would it be like her having a nightmare where she's in her butterfly mode form and she has to fight like the evil version of herself? So I'll keep the stream going for maybe another 10 more minutes in case anybody else comes by and wants to give thoughts on what ideas of Star spin-offs could happen. If you have any more of your own, now's a good time to say in the chat. Everybody is welcome to give their ideas of what they would like to see in a Star spinoff, or like ideas for future Star shows. So yeah, and yeah, so it kind of actually kind of sort of reminds me of. I remember there was a fan theory going around back around season 2, where a lot of people were wondering what would happen if Star had to, like, what would happen if Marco turns evil. So like maybe it'll be a thing where it's like Star has to like fight her inner like evil tendencies or that kind of thing. Can I say more to show with magic or with magic or without magic, people will use fear to bring despair, and that when power is controlled, hope and love can bloom from the hearts of everyone. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think that would be a really big idea for a future Star miniseries to tackle. Excuse me. Um, Especially because I think it would be a really big question of whether the the Echo Creek citizens will like being merged with Muni, especially with this idea of like Earth and Muni just kind of being like cleaved together, like really out of nowhere. Just like all of a sudden, this portal explodes, and now the two dimensions are put together, and then it allows Star Marco to remain together. But the big question is, will the people on Earth, accept humans and like them? Especially because I remember in the finale we see like the spider like crawling across this person's house. CRP, I hope, had an event to SVTFOE, but hopefully, I still hope that there are like star events after the pandemic. I mean, of course, it can't happen right now, but I do hope in the future that like maybe we'll get to see more like panels or boba meetups and that kind of thing. Because it is fun to get together with star fans. CRP says because never abandoned to SVTFOE. And yeah, I don't think they are going to abandon Star. I think a lot of Star fans are going to continue being fans of the show even though the series has ended. It's kind of like, even though Gravity Falls has ended, there's still a big fan base, and even though Avatar ended years ago, there are still a lot of Avatar fans. There's still an Avatar YouTube channel, and they just announced a Avatar Studios. So I think, as much as it does kind of stink that we might be waiting years and years for a spin-off of some sort, I will say that time does help franchises get introduced to new people. Like, I think that's why we saw things like Invader Zim enter the floor or Puss, and now we're getting the Avatar Studios for Paramount Plus, especially now that years have passed since both Avatar and Zim ended, but they continued to gain fans. I mean, I remember I was first introduced to Zim years after it gone off the air. I remember I was going through this book called Not Just Cartoons, They're Nicktoons, and I came across this like really creepy looking show, and I was like, oh, what's this about an alien and this human that's constantly trying to catch him? And that was Invader Zim, and that was how I was introduced. And now Invader Zim is one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows. And actually, yeah, that might actually be a good might be a sort of good precedent for Star, because even though I think for Zim has like gone on to have like comics, and then there was the Enter the Floor, but peace is nice, peace is better than chicken and rice. I could see it being a thing where like maybe in the future Disney will allow like Star to have like some spin-offs and that kind of thing, where it's like where something like how Hey Arnold, Zim, and Rocco were able to get movies. Maybe we'll see something like that happen for Star. But one thing I would love to see is a consistent timeline of Star. Do you mean that you would like to see, Kyle, something like if they make spin-offs, they should just focus on like the future rather than doing a thing where it's like one movie will be in the future, one will be in the past, one and it just gets all like, really like all over the place. So that and it kind of makes it tricky to follow. Kyle said, yes, but also fix the plot holes with times and dates. Yeah. I'm trying to jog my memory. What were some of the plot holes in Star? I remember there were like story arcs that have either gotten like undeveloped or didn't really go anywhere. Like one of the ones that I think didn't really go anywhere was like with Eclipsa and her ties to like dark magic. I mean, we kind of got a taste of like what her interests were in, and it was great that she ended up being this like really sweet character and that sort of thing. But I was always wondering, what's the story behind her cursed arm and that sort of thing, or even like when Moon, um, what was I gonna say? When Moon made the deal with Eclipsa, and we even got to see that episode where her hand is just like completely like a dark purple and that sort of thing. And those are like story arcs that didn't really go anywhere. So yeah, makes me kind of wonder if the deal that she made with Eclipsa has like caused all sorts of other problems for Moon. So it just kind of felt like that story arc didn't really go anywhere outside of like Battle for Muni and that one episode where we see Eclipsa in the present timeline. CRP says, but next year when I turn 18, I'm going to study a university cartoon and illustration. That's really cool. I really wish the best for you. Kyle says the Star Rookie Marco was born in 2000. Information says by Darren, but he turns 15 in 2016. How is this possible? Yeah, I'm not really sure how that works. Because, yeah, math would say if that were the case, he would turn 15 in 2015. So, yeah, that doesn't really make sense to me. So if anybody else has come in, we're talking about ideas for Star versus the Force of Evil spin-offs. It's basically this idea of, since Avatar Studios is going to be making spin-offs and movies for Paramount Plus, what if Disney came up with a SVTFOE Studios to create spin-offs involving Star? Would it be similar to what was I gonna say? To Paramount Plus and that sort of thing? But Star, yeah, I usually just stick to what the show says. I mean, after Star and Marco had their birthdays in the show, they turned 15, so I just kind of left it at that. For a spin-off, I think I'd be more interested in seeing, I think more things could happen if we got to see them grow up and become adults. If they stick to them, like if they were to do some sort of spin-off that took place immediately after the end of Cleaved, then it would be something like maybe we could see like a Star and Marco, they start to like go on dates and start to form their romantic relationship and that sort of thing. Whereas when they become adults, we could see things like what kind of jobs are they going to have, or maybe even, like I mentioned earlier, this idea of like, you know, Star and Marco having their wedding and that sort of thing. Kyle, would you say great, but I fear about series fatigue. When you say series fatigue, do you mean that they might run out of ideas, or you think it might turn into like a Simpsons like situation where it just feels like, you know, they've overstayed their welcome and they just went on way too long and that kind of thing? Yeah, even though I'm not sure, I think a lot of Star fans consider the day the Stump Day episode was released to be Star's birthday. I don't know, in my mind I like to think of it as like maybe because Stump Day was sort of the holiday Star episode, I kind of like to think maybe Star's birthday is closer to December 25th itself on Christmas. Although regardless of when it really is, the show says that Star doesn't like celebrating her birthday on Stump Day because then it makes the Stump really angry. Kyle says, "Yeah, run out of ideas and be a zombie series." With Star as I don't think it's in a sort of zombie series situation. What I will say is, hopefully, if they were able to get the team back together for a future Star spinoff, then they will be able to make a much more consistent story. Because as much as I like Star, I will say that there are a lot of story arcs that don't really go anywhere. I still think that Cleaved kind of felt rushed, and but but I still kind of think there is a potential for more story to be told. What I don't want to see is, I don't want to see a situation happen where they go into the thing where it just feels like they're building more and more story arcs in order to just keep the story going rather than because they genuinely have more story to tell. So I think that would be something that would be really risky, because in my mind I prefer when a series ends in its glory, like even if it's just a few seasons, rather than go on and on and on and on for years. And you could tell the series, like if it's a really long going series, I don't like seeing the thing where you could tell they're struggling to get the series to adapt to like more present day trends and situations and that sort of thing, and it just ends as this like overly long series. And that's a problem I have with shows like The Simpsons and Arthur. I still, you know, really like the two shows, but I don't really like the newer episodes that come out from those shows. I mostly enjoyed the older ones because they felt more like they had a lot of like genuine ambition behind them and that sort of thing. I mean, I will admit, I do get sad when I hear some of my favorite shows are getting discontinued. Like, I remember feeling really sad when I watched it was actually more bittersweet, I would say, when I saw, like, the finales of Gravity Falls, Regular Show, and Avatar. But at the same time, I don't want to see them, like, get turned into an overly long series. Even, like, Regular Show, even though I like Regular Show, oh, I kind of felt that the series started to get a little too it started to run out of steam towards its final season toward its final seasons, but I really like the finale of Regular Show. I really like how they ended things. Syrupy says, but what happened to Jana if is live or deaf? I think didn't Jana say something like she could temporarily make her heart stop to give Marco time to get back together with Star? Because I think it was a temporary thing. So it's not like, I don't think it's a situation where she died at the very end of the series and never got her heartbeat to come back. Is the reunion made by CTN? Originally, Cleve was going to be an hour finale, but Disney said to cut it to a half an hour. Yeah, I think that extending Cleve by an hour could help, but I still think, me personally, I mean, everyone out there, if you really liked Cleve yourself, that's really great. I have close friends who liked Cleve just fine, but I personally could have think that, like, if at least one rewrite of the script could have really helped Cleve be a better series finale. At the very least, if they could have, like, maybe sorted things out and not make it feel as rushed. I think that's like the one common criticism I hear when I hear from people who, even if they like Cleaved, the one common criticism I hear is it feels rushed. So I really wish that, like, maybe Disney would have given Darren and the team more time. So there's I think I know I said that I was gonna end the stream at 7, but I still wanted to talk with you all. So I'll keep it going for maybe 5 more minutes in case anybody else comes by. But yeah, I even still remember going to this company that I used to work for before the pandemic, and there was somebody there was saying, yeah, Disney should make a Marposa and Meteora series. So I think that would be one of the front runners for an idea of a Star spinoff. Oh yeah, that's another idea. I was pushing for too. Kyle, you mentioned. Do you think of a possible crossover special of Star? Yeah, I would like to see that too. Although I remember hearing from somebody that it may not be possible. I mean, somebody who has like a much better understanding of like Disney's legalities than I have maybe could explain this. But I would also like to see a Star crossover, like maybe with like the Owl House or Amphibia or that sort of thing. I mean, the closest is probably. Let me double check. There was another Disney Channel show where they had like plushies of King and Star. Yeah, it was Big City Greens. There was an episode where they had plushies of, let's see, Wanderer, Sprig from Amphibia, Star, Perry, Bill, Cypher, and King, and I think that's Rufus from Kim Possible. Zero P mentions crossover with Sonic the Hedgehog and Star. Maybe as a video game. All right, so I think I'm going to end things off here. So, once again, I want to reiterate that this idea of Disney doing a sort of SVTFOE Studios, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I do like to imagine what possibilities could come out of this idea. Again, I think the most realistic thing that could happen is either a Star sequel series, like if we get like a series with Meteora and Mariposa, or if maybe they could do one with Star and Marco building a romantic relationship. So yeah, so I'm gonna end things off here. If you have any more, if you have any further thoughts or your ideas of Star spin-offs, be sure to let me know in the comments below this video. Until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you.